my name is Jay and welcome to the channel. Here we are back in Nublar Emergent Biopark in Jurassic World Evolution. Today we're adding in the largest creatures that we're going to be adding into our park, the Sauropods. We're going to be filling in our large central valley area where the lake is, and we've got a whopping 6 species to be adding today, 4 of which are in fact Sauropods like I mentioned, and the other 2 are kind of filler animals. So we're going to be working on 2 separate habitats actually, and I'll talk about the first one in a bit. But first let's look at what we're building on screen, which is the guest section. So I wanted this to be kind of isolated from the other one, so you can only kind of get to this particular guest area via the monorail. And it's where the hotels are, so I imagine if you came to visit the park, this is where you'd end up staying, where the hotels are, and there'll be a few guest amenities as well. But there's not an awful lot else here. There's a couple of viewing areas, and yeah, it's relatively simple. I did a bit more path work just to make it look a bit interesting. Added in a restaurant, a bar, a gift shop, I think, just to fill it up a little bit. And we got a couple of viewing areas, yeah, that look into the habitats that are directly adjacent to it, because this is almost entirely surrounded by dinosaur habitats actually. I think, yeah, so essentially as we go along today, you're going to see me do a surprising amount of work actually. And not an awful lot of it will be in this first part here. The majority of my work I'll do after the cinematics that you'll see in a second. And that'll be on our habitats, because I've actually included the building of 4 habitats today, even though we're only filling in 2. Anyways, let's talk about the dinosaurs we're going to be adding in. We've got 6 species to add in today, 4 of which are going into our, 5 of which are going into our main habitat. And those 5 are the Brachiosaurus, the Camarasaurus, the Diplodocus, the Dryosaurus, and the Ceratosaurus. Now, before we talk about them, you might be wondering, okay, Jay, why are you putting in a large carnivore with all these, herbivores? And I'm kind of doing it in a way where I would assume that these particular carnivores are more scavengers than predators, and that they kind of deal with the habitat in a reasonable way if they've been given food. Obviously, they might not necessarily want to do this, especially with loads of small herbivores like the Dryosaurus running around. But I thought, yeah, it's cool. Anyways, we're using quite a few mods as well, just to make the dinosaurs more accurate as per the whole mission of this park. For the Brachiosaurus, we're using a mod by the user Wheat on the Nexus. Just kind of tightens up the look of the whole animal. Not that many changes, mainly making the neck a bit thicker, making the feet a bit different, I think, maybe making the head a bit smaller. Of course, there are some limitations with how accurate you can make this. A lot of the sauropods we're adding in today, in real life, their necks would be at a slightly different angle, but again, we are limited to the animations and the rigs that are already in the game. The Camarasaurus was made by Jagged Fang Designs and is my personal favorite of the sauropods we're adding in today, and you'll see why later on. It is beautiful and I absolutely love how it looks. What is the next one that I was talking about? Well, the Ceratosaurus is actually made by the user Black Frog. Again, very minor changes to the model itself, just giving it some slightly more crest-like horns as opposed to the very horn-like horns that we have in the base game. I think that's all of them. The Dryosaurus and the Dryosaurus and the Diplodocus are the base game models, because they are pretty close to being about as accurate as you're going to get with these dinosaurs. The Diplodocus, I would like it to have a bit of a thicker neck and a better neck position, and I did download a mod that did that, but it was a little bit glitchy, so I ended up sticking with the base game model. And the Dryosaurus is pretty spot on. I would have liked it to be maybe a bit more feathered and to have a little bit better proportions, but overall it's pretty accurate, so I'm happy enough to have it in the game. We actually have a huge herd of those. I put in 25 Dryosaurs, so you're going to see them later on in the live play section, and that was a lot of fun. And also, actually, our 6th species that we're going to be adding in is going to a separate habitat, and that is our Dreadnoughtus. I took a mod from the Nexus by Zach Chu, and that is for an Argentinosaurus actually. But I think the two dinosaurs are relatively similar, being South American titanosaurs. So I'm happy to call it either Dreadnoughtus or Argentinosaurus, and they're getting their own much more forested habitat as opposed to the big savanna land that the other 5 species get. And as you can see, we've just about finished the guest area and the monorail that links it all together. So we're going to move into the cinematics for this section, and I'll come back right after that with the build for the habitats itself. So I'll see you guys in a second. So as far as the habitat build for today is going to go, we're going to be building 4 separate habitats, and the reason I built all 4 at once is because I'm going to be adding in the tour vehicle today, and it's going to run through all 4 of these habitats. The 2 that we're going to be filling today are going to be the big kind of valley habitat that's going to be around the lake where we're going to have most of our sauropods, and the forested one right next to it, which has the South American sauropods, the Dreadnoughtus/Argentinosaurus, whichever one you prefer. And the interesting thing about this is that I do hope to fill in the other 2 with the Cretaceous China habitats, but because I made it in this way, all these habitats kind of surround that secondary guest area with the hotels that we made earlier, so you can only really access that guest area via the monorail, like I mentioned earlier. So I think that's a pretty cool place. Like, imagine if you get into this hotel and you get this really cool kind of experience where you're surrounded by dinosaurs, just on all sides. I think that's just such a cool idea. And there's a couple, I did actually sink down that guest area as well, a bit lower, so you can't directly view the dinosaurs, but there are viewing platforms that get you high enough so that you can look directly into the valley habitat and the forested habitat and the Cretaceous China ones as well, which we'll be filling in the next few episodes. So I think it eventually does end up looking quite cool. For the valley habitat, I wanted to keep it really sparse, wanted it to look very much like a grassland. So no real redwoods. I think I included a few on the outskirts, none of those. And kept it, just really sparse, lots of low-lying foliage as opposed to trees. And in the forested habitat next to it is where I wanted it to be really dense, so that's where the Argentinosaurus or Dreadnoughtus is going to be. And there's a little river that runs there from the lake itself, and it's completely dense, covered in lots of really tall trees, lots of redwoods as well. And I think that turned out really, really nice. I'm actually really happy with how all these habitats turned out, and we'll have a much better look at all the dinosaurs when we get into the live play section. And some of them are beautiful, especially the Camarasaurus, and you're going to see why I think that's so gorgeous. That particular model is beautiful. But yeah, other than that, I don't have too much else to say. So I'll leave you with the rest of the speed build. It's only a couple minutes left. And I will see you in the live part of the gameplay. So yeah, see you in a sec. Alright guys, here we are in the game itself. Again, just quickly, apologies for the lag. It is starting to get bad because the park's starting to get a little bit fuller. But we'll push through it and kind of have a look at what we've built so far. So here we go, this is the valley habitat, and I think it looks beautiful. There are lots of viewpoints for it. Of course, you can take the tour that we just built and it'll go right through. You can go out by the aviary and there's quite a few viewing platforms here. We have 3 elevated ones and 1 regular one. Let's quickly have a look at the regular one. And you can see a brilliant view of this valley. Of course, I can't take all the credit for the valley. It did come with the map itself, but I did change a few things. Added in this small body of water, added in some of these big, almost acacia type trees. And of course, populated it with dinosaurs. You can see our Camarasaurs right there with our little Dryosaurs, and of course we'll go in a bit closer and have a much closer look at our dinosaurs in a second. I just want to show you the habitat from a distance. And if you go on the elevator ones, you might get a slightly more up high view of everything. In fact, you can even see right into the forested habitat in the distance and see the heads of our South American sauropods, which we'll have a look at in a bit. Apologies for the noise outside. There are some... Oh my god. Really? Wow. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but that was a very loud motorcycle. Thank you very much, my dude. Really nice of you to rev that engine for some reason. Anyways, back to what you can see on the screen. Here we go. Here's one of our Jurassic tours. We're not going to be riding in it today. We will do once I finish up the other 2 habitats that it goes through, so we're going to get the full tour experience. But yeah, let's have a look at our dinosaurs for today. We'll start with the tiny little Dryosaurs here. We actually have 26 of these little guys in this habitat, which might seem like a lot, but they're so tiny and so cute. I thought, yeah, let's just go for as many as possible. And they provide this amazing kind of dichotomy when you see them next to the Camarasaurs and the other sauropods. Speaking of which, here they are. Camarasaurus is definitely my favorite of today. Just look at that skin, that's beautiful. And that's not even the main vibrant one. This is the dull kind of savanna one, and it already looks so good. So let's see the actual bright skin, which is this one, and look at that. Jagged Fang Designs really outdid themselves with this one. What a beautiful skin, and the model itself is really gorgeous as well. Really reminds me of what you might expect from a dinosaur like this, very much like a giraffe, or the colors just remind me a lot of animals on the African savanna. Kind of like African painted dogs, giraffes, and zebras. So all the animals like that, I think, were really evocative of this. Don't even know if I'm using that word correctly. But yeah, I love how they look with the Dryosaurs. The Dryosaurs don't often congregate, but sometimes they do, and all 26 of them will like run across the valley together, which is quite a sight actually. I really love that. Here you can see a few of them running together. I would imagine the green ones are kind of the males, the brown ones are females. And actually the brown one skins, the skin pattern is one of my favorites. It reminds me a lot of baby warthogs or baby tapirs, you know, with that little stripy pattern. And they're super cute, really love them. Moving on to the next dinosaur, let's talk about the Diplodocus, because I didn't actually change the model. I didn't mod the Diplodocus, this is the in-game model. Which isn't the worst. It's not super inaccurate, but it could be a lot more accurate. And there was a mod I downloaded for it, but the mod was a little bit glitchy, so I opted not to end up using it. So we do have just the base game Diplodocus here. So not too much to talk about them. And there's I think about 11 of them in here. And of course to our giants here, these are our Brachiosaurs, which have been modded quite well to reflect a slightly more accurate view of these animals. So you got a thicker neck, better leg positioning. Of course it can't be perfectly accurate, you can't really get that the angle of the neck perfect, which is what I think is the biggest difficulty with modding sauropods in the game. But I think they look so good. They tend to stay here on this side of the habitat. They tend to stay on the left, these 3 Brachiosaurs. The Camarasaurs do distribute themselves mainly either up here where the water body is, or down by the lake itself, where you can see there's a few of them just here by the fence actually. And as for the Diplodocus, they do spread out a lot because there's quite a lot of them, and the Dryosaurs do spread out a lot as well. And on the right side of the habitat, usually we can spot our carnivores, which are somewhere in here. There's one. So These are our Ceratosauruses, and I kind of imagine they would act more like scavengers in this habitat, and they would be, because we do give them food, they wouldn't really necessarily feel like hunting the other dinosaurs. Don't know how realistic that would be, but I would always imagine them as more scavengers, because in real life they would have coexisted with allosaurs, and I imagine stealing a kill from an allosaur is tremendously difficult. As far as model changes go, you have the more flat crests, which are a lot more realistic, and the longer tail, and overall just better body proportions, so I really like how it looks. And that is it for the 5 dinosaurs in here. I don't think I missed any of them. And of course, next door in the forested habitat, we have our large South American sauropods, either Argentinosaurus or Dreadnoughtus. As the base game goes, that is a Dreadnoughtus. The modder have tried to make it more based on Argentinosaurus, so we can go with either really. And they are beautiful. I think the proportions have changed a lot for the better. The thicker neck, the longer tail, they just look a lot more realistic. And I love how they look in this foresty environment. They do stay in the trees a lot, so it's hard to see them. Like, you can see there are 5 of them, and 4 of them are here in the trees, and you can barely see them. Except for the tops of their heads, which I think is actually really cute. Here's one emerging right now, and this one has the other skin pattern, which is the brown one. So you can see it got these really nice stripes. This is a skin that came with the base game, actually, and I think it looked really good, so didn't feel the need to change that. And yeah, so here's the guest facility that I built. You can see very much sticking with that same path motif that we did earlier with the circles and the stripes. And of course we've got 2 hotels here and a few guest facilities down here, and a couple of viewing platforms. So this viewing platform will show you the Dreadnoughtus / Argentinosaurus habitat. You can't really see them very well right now. You can see the Brachiosaurus in the distance though, which is pretty cool. But no, you can't see the Dreadnoughtus right now. Oh, there you go. You can just about see one's head directly ahead. But this other viewing platform will eventually overlook the Cretaceous China habitat, and I'll show you everything on the map in a second. But other than that, there's no other viewing areas, and you can of course go in the tour, and that'll take you around. And let's look on the map. So in the map you can see all the dinosaurs are congregating. Let's have a look. Yeah, so you have loads of dinosaurs right here. Anyways, let's look at the map. So this is our big valley habitat with all our dinosaurs. Here's the forested habitat, and we've got 2 habitats which I built which are empty right now. This is going to be for Chinese Cretaceous stegosaurs. And this one over here is going to be a special one because I'm going to be showcasing what I personally think is the single best dinosaur mod to come into the game. And if you're familiar with the modding scene, you already know what I'm talking about. But it's a Chinese Cretaceous carnivore. We're going to be introducing it there, and it is beautiful. So look forward to that. And as you can see, the tour does go through all 4 habitats. So once I introduce those 2, probably in the next episode, then we'll be going on the tour itself. And I really love the tour because you can hear like the voice describe all the different dinosaurs as you go past, so I really love that. So we'll be doing that, and yeah, that's kind of it for today's episode. Not much else to talk about. Let's just enjoy looking at our lovely dinosaurs in remarkably low frame rates. But yeah, cinematics will come up in a bit, and I do hope you enjoy those. So as always, do like the video if you enjoyed the video. Please do comment if you want to let me know anything. I do reply to all the comments, and of course subscribe if you enjoy this content. I'll probably make another couple episodes of this series, maybe about 3 or 4, and then we'll be heading back into Planet Zoo just in time for the new DLC to drop. So yeah, I will see you guys all in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, and bye.